There's something that many Hamilton home sellers just aren't realizing in 2026. The biggest mistake isn't just pricing your home too high. It's making decisions based on what used to work in Hamilton, but doesn't anymore. If you're relying on advice that worked in the 2021-2022 gold rush, during the massive Toronto migration wave, or even pre-pandemic strategies, these things may sound smart and responsible and safe, but they're quietly costing sellers leverage this year. So if you're feeling uncertain as a home seller and you're not sure what to do, that's okay. It's normal. It means you're paying attention. That's a good thing. Because what I'm seeing across Hamilton and Stoney Creek, even in Ancaster and Dundas, is sellers are following the safe advice, but that's slowly losing them time and money. Maybe not all at once, but it's quietly creeping in. And the tricky part is, these mistakes don't feel risky at the time. You probably feel like you're informed and you're making reasonable decisions based on advice from people you think know what they're talking about. But buyers are seeing things very differently. And they're not going to sit around and argue with you. They don't feel any urgency to negotiate aggressively these days. If they can't make something happen quickly, they'll just move on. So if you want to make confident decisions when selling your home in Hamilton in 2026, I'm glad you're here, because what's costing sellers money in this market isn't necessarily obvious, and very few people can explain it properly. One of the biggest issues obviously is pricing. And finally, we're seeing sellers not still hanging on to that 2021 price that their neighbor got up the street. They're finally realizing that's not going to happen. But they're not necessarily seeing things the way they need to be, which is still looking forward in the market, not backwards. Meaning sellers are still pricing too high. They're a little bit more realistic, but they're still looking back at what sold 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago. The thing is, we need to look forward. What are things going to be selling for in the next month to 2 months based on the trends we're seeing? And most of the time, it's definitely not going up. And the thing is, you never really get a second chance to make a first impression. That first week, that's when serious buyers and their agents are looking. And overpriced homes just don't get negotiated anymore. Like I said, they'll just move on. And I speak with a lot of sellers who think, let's just try it at that number. If it doesn't work, then we'll come down. It's too late at that point. You just fall into the bottom of the pit with the growing number of sellers who had that same thought. And I'm seeing this happen in older detached homes on the mountain, 90s builds in Stoney Creek, or even larger family homes in Ancaster. None of you are immune to overpricing. Just remember, there is no test the market in 2026. So on one hand, you have sellers who refuse to budge on their price that sit there and get stale. On the other hand, if you decide to do a bunch of price drops, that looks like you're desperate and you need to sell. And remember, agents can see the histories. So if you did buy during the pandemic at a higher price, or maybe around the price that you're asking for now, they can see that and they can get a pretty good idea whether or not you need to sell or not. And the truth is, if you play that game of starting high, by the time you actually do a bunch of reductions and sell, it'll probably be at less than what you could have if you've just priced it originally in the first place. That may be a hard pill to swallow, but this is the truth. The second mistake I see too often, and this can be awkward, it's taking advice from the wrong person. Whether it's a friend who just got their license, it could be a discount brokerage, it could just be somebody who's never sold in this market, or someone trying to buy your business by telling you what you want to hear. If you talk to 4 different realtors, 3 of them are telling you the same thing, and you got a 4th who's selling you your dreams, that should be a red flag. Because selling in Hamilton requires nuance right now. Inventory levels are up across the board. Obviously, they differ in different neighborhoods, but buyers are being cautious either way. Conditions are commonplace. That's home inspection and financing, things that were unheard of not so long ago. And even more, we're seeing conditional on the sale of the buyer's property, which means if they can't sell, they've just tied up your property while trying to do so. So we have to do things the right way. It's not about loyalty. This is a business decision in the end. It's one of the biggest assets you'll ever trade in your life. Also, I'm seeing a lot of out-of-town agents listing in Hamilton, and the thing is, they're not even doing right by their client because they're not even listing on the Hamilton board. They're just listing on Toronto, so many buyers in Hamilton won't even see that property. It's not hard to spot when someone doesn't know exactly what they're doing. Wrong pricing, poor positioning, weak negotiations, listings that feel rushed, repairs and cleaning that's not done. These are all telltale signs, and once your listing develops a reputation, it's really hard to reverse that. So choosing who you work with is of utmost importance. The third mistake I see people making is rushing their listing and rushing to market. I understand it can happen. Divorce, downsizing, relocating, job changes, or maybe you're carrying 2 properties, which can hurt. Sometimes you just want it done, but rushing can leave money on the table. Your home is a product and it needs preparation. 2 or 3 weeks of proper prep can completely change the outcome. Fix little things, declutter, paint if needed, do a good cleaning, because buyers here are picky and they have a lot to choose from. The market is quote unquote slow. But homes that are move-in ready, that don't need anything, they sell. The rest sit stagnant. So remember when you're listing, these little things matter. Loose handles on the cupboards, caulking that's peeling off, dirty baseboards. To you, it may seem minor, but to a buyer, they think, well, if this is what I can see, what about the stuff that I can't see? The fourth thing, and this drives me crazy, there's absolutely no reason for it, and that is bad photos. I've made a few videos about bad photos previously on my TikTok channel. Some people are like, I don't get it, it's fine. But trust me, it makes a huge difference. When you can see the realtor in the bathroom with their cell phone taking the photo and the light's not even on, the toilet seat is up, that's not how you get a house sold in this market. That may have worked during bidding wars and multiple offers and nobody cared about those little things. They just wanted to get a house. Not these days. Buyers are looking on their phone, they're scrolling, and if they don't like what they see, they're gone. The photos are the first thing you see. They're not reading your beautiful description written by ChatGPT. What will stop them is properly taken photos with good lighting, nicely staged, clean lines, and an actual feel for what the house looks like. If you have dark photos with cluttered rooms and weird angles, and like I said, somebody in the image that reminds the buyer that somebody else has lived there, that stuff's not going to fly. And you'll see it in the amount of showings that get booked, let alone the offers you receive. Professional photography is not an option. It's a must. Because more clicks equals more showings leads to offers. Number 5 on my list is ignoring curb appeal. First impressions don't necessarily start when you open the front door. They start when the buyer pulls onto your street, walks up your driveway, and looks your house up and down. This matters even more in older neighborhoods. Little things like pressure washing the driveway, trimming the hedges, cleaning the windows, fixing the mailbox, making sure the doorbell's not broken. Paint your front door if you need to. These are cheap upgrades with big emotional impact. I'm working with buyers now where we've not even gone into a house based on some of these things. They know it's just not for them. And last on my list is choosing an offer just based on price and not on terms. Big numbers don't always mean it's the best offer. You have to consider the conditions that are included. If it's financing, is it realistic that they're going to get it? Talk to the buyer agent and find out their situation. Are the conditions long and drawn out and they're just going to tie up your property like I mentioned previously with conditions that include sale of property? Does the closing match up with what you need? And does it sound like it's likely to fall apart? Because then you just end up back on the market, back at square one. And it makes your house potentially look bad because buyers are going to think that maybe it fell apart because of an inspection. In short, in this market, strong overall offers beat flashy high prices. To some, selling a home may look simple from the outside. A realtor puts up a sign, throws it on MLS, and job done. Your offers come rolling in. It's not usually quite that simple because there are plenty of traps in this market. Price traps, preparation traps, photo traps, and offer traps. All these things that we mentioned. And by the time most sellers realize that they've fallen into one of these, it's too late and the market has moved on from them. So if you are thinking about selling in Hamilton in 2026, even if it's not till later in the year, it's never too early to have that conversation. I'm happy to chat. There's a link below. You can book a call, even if it's just to pick my brain. Till then, I'll see you on the next one.